Hi everybody! In this video I'm going to go through two very different decks of tarot cards. One, it is a giant deck, the other one is a very small deck. But they're different in other ways as well. I'm going to just open this. It comes in a tin box and it's very small and it's very pretty. Very easy to shuffle. This deck obviously it's big, but that's not the main difference. I use this deck for my YouTube tutorial because it is big. But as you recognize, this is the Rider Waite deck. It's the most used deck. It's a traditional deck. And here is Four of Swords. And you can tell by looking at it what the meaning is. It's someone who's resting. Here is Five of Cups. You can see what the meaning is there, because you can see this is someone who's very sad and it's disappointment and grieving. Here is Nine of Wands, someone who is wounded, standing up tall but wounded. So you can see what the meaning is by simply looking at the pip cards. And the pip cards are the minor arcana cards except the chord cards. So it's like Ace to 10. Then you have the major arcana cards, and they do also, you can tell what they mean. It's courage here. It's a woman with a lion, so it's courage. Moon, you can kind of see the madness here, and then you learn about the symbolism. So the Rider Waite deck is a very easy deck to use. You learn. But you also can just look at the meaning by looking at the card. So with the Rider Waite deck, you much sooner can just turn away from the books and read with the cards, basically. Then there is a second type of deck, and this is sort of, I guess it's a Marseille type deck. This is different. Here is Nine of Cups. If you don't know what Nine of Cups means, you won't be able to figure it out looking at this card. You need to know the meaning. So I'll show you what the Nine of Cups look like in this deck, so you can compare. Here's the Nine of Cups. So it's someone who's very satisfied and who has achievements behind him. All the cups are lined up perfectly. Everything is going great. You can see the satisfaction on the man's face. He's proud in his body language. All of his achievements, he has them all displayed. He is proud. He's someone who's very proud of what he has achieved. So when it shows up in the Seeker's life, you know it's success. And then you get this card here, Nine of Cups, and it's like you don't see the cups he line up as an arch very harmoniously. Here it basically is just Nine of Cups. And also with this deck particular, this is Tarot de Marseille, and it is in French as well. So Roy means king, and it's King of Wands, and this is Three of Swords. And this is Three of Swords in Rider Waite. So you kind of get the message here, but here it's not. You need to know the meaning to understand. Let's see if I can find Ten of Swords. So Ten of Swords is another good example of when you really just get the picture. Like, okay, so Ten of Swords, Ten of Swords, Ten of Cups, Ten of Cups. So if you're a beginner, I recommend you use a Rider Waite deck or type deck. My very first deck was a Hans and Robert deck. It is actually quite small in size. Let's see if I have a Hans and Robert deck. Hans and Robert deck. It's very small, but it's very much based on the traditional. Here's Nine of Cups. So it's very similar, So this deck too you can use, and you'll get the meaning by looking at the cards. Here's Ten of Cups. So So you can see the happiness. And then you have 10 of Cups here, and you need to know the meaning. So when you are a beginner, Hans and Robert is a fantastic deck to use. Very first deck I ever used. Rider Waite, very good deck as well. When you feel like, okay, now I'm developing, I need to get better, then a Marseille type deck is what will get you there. I really do think this is a really good deck to use for people who want to advance themselves. You'll have to rely much more on intuition reading a deck like this. And most readers anyway, they get to a point in their development where they just need more challenges. The traditional type decks based on Rider Waite tradition may not suit them anymore, and they want to move past those decks and start exploring other types of decks. Now, the major arcana cards in the Marseille deck is illustrated. I'll show you an example. Here's the Magician. Here is the Empress. So they are illustrated similar to the Rider Waite deck. The only thing is that Strength and Justice has swapped. So in the major arcana card in the traditional Rider Waite deck, and pretty much any other deck inspired by Rider Waite, has Strength as number 8 and Justice as 11, but the Marseille type deck, they sometimes, I don't know if they all do it, but they swap them. So this is number 8 and this is number 8. This is Justice, this is Strength. So Strength is 8, Justice is 11, but in the Marseille type deck, Justice is 8 and Strength is 11. The court cards as well in the Marseille type deck is also illustrated with a person and kind of like you kind of get the vibe of the person. Here is King of Pentacles. And this lady here is Queen of Wands. So this is for advanced readers who wants to challenge himself and maybe feel like the Rider Waite deck is blocking their intuition even a little bit, because looking at the scenes can sometimes even block the intuition a little bit, because you get so drawn into looking at the picture that can actually stimulate more the rational side of the brain. But what you really want in a reading is to stimulate more the irrational. You want the creative side of your brain to work. So when you use a deck, whatever deck you're using, in my experience, the perfect card for what you're asking will appear. And if you're using decks that are very illustrated and very maybe digitalized, it will pick even the people on the cards that look like the people that are in your life that you're dealing with in the situation. So there are new decks that are like that. This is my favorite card, Temperance. It's beautiful. Patience. You really get the sense of patience here. Patience is the answer, and holding your energy and playing the long game rather than the short game. You can really feel that in this card here. And I like the Hermit card as well, because the Hermit, it's the student and the teacher. And in this card, it looks like a teacher who has his own questions, who's also a student, and who's teaching, but is always learning as well. It looks like he really needs answers. So all the understanding that he has obtained still can't answer all of his questions. And that's what drives him, and that's what moves him forward. So I really like this card too. And when you're using certain decks, it will speak to you, your intuition, and also where you're at in your own development as well. Like, it will just speak to you where you're at now. Don't be afraid to use a deck like this. the tarot really is an art form, and you need to develop your own style. Many readers often go through maybe what writers go through when they go through writer's block. They just get like tarot reading block. But when that happens, I do advise you to change the deck you're using. Challenge yourself with a deck that is not easy, because your intuition, I feel like, is about to have another major breakthroughs, and the block is actually a breakthrough awaiting or soon to happen. Here in the Judgment card, you really get the sense that their prayers are about to be answered. So changing tarot decks can also shift the meaning a little bit, because you need to look at it. How does this, what do you feel when you look at this card? When you look at your spread? In my private playlist on the bundle and now the Patreon, I do talk about what you can do when you just can't connect to the cards on the table. Take a picture of it and you leave it for a while and you look at the picture, or even hold the picture to a mirror. It's very powerful to take away the smoke screen sometimes that is clouding your perception and intuition. It can really help. And don't even think, oh, that card means this card means that. Just look at it until you get that sense of feeling inside of you that you just connect. That's what it means, that's what it is in this situation for me. Do you use different decks for different questions? This is the Art of Love Tarot, and it's a good deck to use in relationship questions. It has some really beautiful artwork on it as well, so it answers questions more related to the heart. Nine of Stars, which is Nine of Wands, and it says Perseverance. So if you remember the picture of the guy with the wounded head in front of all the wands, he was wounded but stood strong, so it teaches perseverance. So if you remember the Ten of Swords card, let's see if I can find it, and it has kind of like that really negative 10 swords in the back. And then it says here 10 of Swords, or it says 10 of Angels, but it is the same as 10 of Swords. It means surrender, so it gives more of a gentler message. And so if you're in pain, if you're in a lot of pain with heartache, for example, or maybe you're very vulnerable because you are in a relationship, maybe you feel vulnerable, maybe you are very in love, maybe it's a new relationship and you feel vulnerable, and the Art of Love Tarot is a good deck to use. And then also what I ended up doing was ended up buying dices, tarot dices, that I think are really good to use sometimes. Just as a clarifier, I can, I cast the dices the similar ways with the runes. So I have a bunch of decks. I'm sure many of you have a bunch of decks as well, and some decks become very personal. You love them, they're part of you. I think the Hans and Robert deck is that deck for me in many ways. Very gentle deck as well. And then you have your decks that are more for challenges, and when you want to challenge yourself, when you want it to be harder, when you want to just when you want your intuition to do most of the work in a reading, then a Marseille type deck like Tarot Celia, Maria Celia deck is a good deck to use. So guys, I wish you all the very best, and please comment below what deck you love to use and if you change decks when it comes to your different questions and things like that. Bye guys!